Very good afternoon to all of you. So let me first compliment Janagra. They have created this very important platform for evidence-based deliberations on the state of India's cities and to discuss how to reshape our policies and our institutional frameworks to strengthen urban governance. The ultimate objective of all of this is to improve the lives of people in our cities and towns. The reports which have been released today on shaping urban India by design, not default, will, I'm sure, bring a refreshing systems thinking lens to India's urban landscape. It is a cliche, but nevertheless needs reiteration that urban transformation, urban rejuvenation is a pressing need. In fact, it is crucial for India to realize Prime Minister's vision of Viksit Bharat by 2047. Our cities need massive upgradation in terms of infrastructure, in terms of quality and of services, affordable housing, in their thinking on spatial planning, in their resource mobilization efforts, and above all, in restructuring governance, which some of the previous speakers here referred to, so that citizens have a real say in how their cities are run. If we look at our urbanization trajectory, we have been, as a country, slow to urbanize. Our urban population today is around 35%. It's over 80% in most of the countries in the world, in all continents, whether it is USA, Australia, Brazil, Canada. It's over 90% in Japan. Even China, which had a lower urbanization rate than India in 1970, is today two-thirds urban. But now this is changing, and it is changing very rapidly. We are in the midst of, sometimes we do not realize, an unprecedented demographic transition. India will be about 50% urban by 2050, and our urban population would have increased from about 50 crores today to 85 crores by that time. Our total fertility rate, the country's total fertility rate has come down now to around 1.9, though there are huge variations across states. But our population will stabilize only by around 2065 at approximately 165 crores. So most of this additional population will live in cities. And in any case, we need to move a large section of our population, our workforce, from farming into manufacturing and services, and these opportunities will be in these cities and towns. Throughout history, cities have been the crucibles of economic growth. Cities are where human talent and capital converge, where ideas and innovations get converted into enterprise, and wealth is created, prosperity is created, jobs are created. So people will move to cities, will have to move to cities for jobs, for access to higher education, for advanced healthcare, even for cultural pursuits or for recreational opportunities. And we have been slow to urbanize in the last century or so, but if we go back in the past, India had well-planned cities such as Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, even during Indus Valley civilization. And ancient and medieval India had thriving urban centers like Patliputra, Ujjain, Mathura, Kashi, Taxila, Nalanda, and so on. However, post-independence, in our the development trajectory that we adopted and followed in our philosophy of governance, it was such that cities suffered from relative neglect. And therefore, urban infrastructure not only did not keep pace with growing population, in most parts of the country, it deteriorated. Migration from rural to urban centers was seen as some kind of a failure of state planning. The resource allocation and funding were also skewed against urban centers. Consequently, today we have about 3,892 census towns which are not statutory towns, and so they are totally bereft of the benefits of any kind of urban planning. The first major intervention by Government of India in terms of funding was the JNNURM, which came only in 2005. But it had very limited impact because the reform agenda was very diffused, and that also did not get implemented, and most of the funds went for activities like procurement of buses, which were needed, no doubt, but that was, I think, all that was there to that intervention. Post 2014, under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, there has been a paradigm shift. Government of India has launched several large missions in the urban sector, the Smart Cities Mission, Amrut, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, Swachh Bharat Urban, Urban Livelihoods Mission, and so on. Between, in this period of 10, 12 years, the budgetary outlay for urban sector has increased about tenfold. It's a huge increase. Around 1 crore houses have been built under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban, and another 1 crore have been sanctioned. Huge investments have been made of the order of, I think, 3.5 lakh crores in metro rail, bus rapid transit systems, and regional rapid rail. These initiatives represent a timely reset of governance paradigm in the country because, as I said earlier, we are in the midst of a massive demographic transition, and because our aspiration to become a developed country by 2047 will depend on unlocking the potential of our cities. So recognizing the importance of tapping the economic growth potential of cities, Niti Aayog launched some time back the Growth Hub for City Regions initiative. The objective is to help states adopt a holistic approach for economic development of cities and their connected regions. Surat, Mumbai, Varanasi, Visakhapatnam, and Bhubaneswar, 5 cities have already prepared their plans under this initiative, and NITI would be supporting the development of such plans for 20 city regions. This model can, of course, be replicated by other cities, by other states. And a 1 lakh crore Urban Challenge Fund was announced last year in the budget to incentivize cities to undertake urban reforms. I think that scheme is about to roll out. And this year's budget has an allocation of 5,000 crores per city economic region over 5 years for growth hubs. But the success of these initiatives will depend on certain critical shifts in urban planning and management. One, a regional approach which transcends administrative boundaries of a corporation. 2, economic planning to leverage the strengths and functional interdependence of cities and its adjacent or contiguous areas. And 3, economic rather than land use-based planning, focusing on livability, inclusivity, and long-term sustainability. And 4th, a well-structured and empowered governance framework to ensure time-bound implementation, overcoming sectoral silos. The core issue is of reform of governance, of planning, and finance. The fact is that despite 74th constitutional amendment devolving 18 functions like urban planning, water supply, etc. to the urban local bodies, in practice, most cities have control over only sanitation and waste management. Basic services such as water supply, transport, electricity, and urban planning, even urban planning, as was mentioned in the discussion just some time back, are handled by other agencies, by state-level agencies or separate city-level bodies which are not organically linked to the municipal corporations. If we look at the global scenario, whether it is New York or London or other major world cities, cities have executive control and power over all agencies, including water supply, transport planning, and even policing. In most Indian cities, mayors have, it was mentioned just a little while back, short tenures, often only 1 year or 2 years, and they are elected indirectly by councillors. So when people cast their votes in the municipal election, they do not know who the mayor eventually is going to be, and therefore the consequent lack of the kind of enthusiasm that should be there, and also the lack of perhaps, credible or candidates of high caliber. The metropolitan planning committees, which were envisaged in the 74th Amendment, are presently non-existent or dysfunctional in most states. Elections of the municipal bodies are often delayed. We just now heard that there have been no elections in Bangalore for many years now. On an average, these delays are over 22 months, and even after election, there are delays in the constitution of the councils, averaging about a year, 11 months to a year. So it is time for us to have fully empowered city governments, which have the responsibility and accountability for all civic functions, all services, including planning, water supply, fire services, traffic, and so on. There should be timely elections. There should be a mayor and council system, which would help increase accountability and enable active citizen participation, and similarly, effective and empowered CEOs or the municipal commissioners. Our municipal revenues have remained stagnant at around 1% of GDP, which is far below international comparators of 7%, ranging from 7 to 14%. Cities need to raise more revenues by rationalizing property taxes and charging user fees, which are aligned with full cost recovery. The 16th Finance Commission has enhanced the urban share of grants to local bodies very, very significantly to 45%, up from 36%, and it was 26% in 13th Finance Commission, so there has been a huge increase over the last 8-10 years. This will total, I think, about 3.5 lakh crores, which is more than double the previous allocation. However, states also need to do, a similar thing. The state finance commissions, their devolution of state revenues to the cities are comparatively very, very low, and they vary hugely across states. If we do that also, and also the internal resource mobilization through property taxes and user charges, then only the cities will be able to improve the quality of services, deliver services, and will also enable them to tap the municipal bond market, which is currently it's almost non-existent. It is 0.02% of GDP in India as compared to 15% in the United States. Many cities lack up-to-date master plans, and where they do exist, they are limited to land use regulation rather than integrated spatial, economic, and transit planning. Most cities follow single-use zoning and have very restrictive, highly restrictive building norms, low FSIs, which inflates the land costs and housing costs. These restrictive FARs need to be relaxed, and we need to embrace vertical development around transit hubs. Parveen Pradeshi mentioned it a little while back. And then our master plans remain static. They need not remain so. There should be a system for periodically revising and updating them. Before concluding, I would like to also touch upon one more issue, that is for inclusive growth and for making our cities work for everyone. As urbanization accelerates, we will witness a significant influx of people. They will all require housing, decent housing. But we have even today a massive housing deficit estimated to be anywhere between 5 to 7 crore units. So we have to address this supply gap. What has happened over the last many years is that there is kind of surplus at the upper end in the luxury segments, but affordable housing units are in short supply. The challenges in the housing sector are structural and they are interlinked. Essentially, they arise from constraints on land supply. Land availability is at the heart of the problem, and land costs are high because of our norms that we have followed, the kind of planning we have done, low density, and therefore the project costs 50 to 70% is land. So zoning and regulatory relaxations for affordable housing should be an integral part of our master plans. Raise FARs, adopt land pooling and transferable development rights, and ease parking and density norms so that we can reduce land costs and unlock housing supply. But ownership is one part of the problem. The migrant workers, the industrial labor, students and young professionals, they often need secure and affordable rental housing located close to workplaces. Therefore, our rental housing ecosystem also needs reform and strengthening, which basically needs reforming of the tenancy laws. The union government, the MOHUA, they have prepared a model tenancy law which has been circulated to the states, but most states, I think, have not adopted it so far. This year's budget has announced a dedicated real estate investment trust to unlock land and assets held by central public sector enterprises and to recycle underutilized land into productive housing and commercial stock. These are welcome steps and should help ease this problem. I'm sure the deliberations in this conclave will provide valuable insights and actionable recommendations, which will help advance the agenda of improving the lives of our city people, unlocking the true growth potential of our cities, and realizing the vision of Viksit Bharat. Thank you.
आपके राज्य की खबरें, आपके शहर की खबरें सबसे पहले जानने के लिए देखते रहें अमर उजाला। चैनल को सब्सक्राइब जरूर कर लें और पाएं हर अपडेट।